Before you say a word, before you even know someone's story, your mind has already made a decision about them. We size people up in seconds, by how they look, by how they speak, by one mistake we heard about. We don't call it judgment, we call it discernment, we call it being honest, but deep down, we know what it is. And the quiet truth is this: the harshest judgments we make about others are often the very places God is still working on in us. Jesus steps into a world just like ours, a world quick to label and slow to love, and he says something that cuts against our instincts: do not judge, or you too will be judged. This isn't a message about pretending wrong is right. It's a message about trading condemnation for compassion and learning how to look at people the way God looks at us. Karma once saw a man walk into church late. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair was uncombed. He slid into the back row and sat alone. And I watched what happened. People glanced, some looked away quickly, some held their gaze just a little too long. No one said a word, but the room spoke. We are fluent in silent judgment. We can condemn with a look, dismiss with a sigh, measure a soul in seconds. And Jesus steps into that room and says quietly, do not judge, not because people don't do wrong, but because judgment does something to us. Karma. Imagine two people, let's call them Daniel and Marcus. Daniel grew up in church. He knows the language of faith. He knows the verses. He knows how to look put together. Marcus didn't. Marcus is new. His life is messy. His past is public. His mistakes are obvious. One Sunday, Marcus messes up badly. Old habits come back. People find out. And Daniel sees him across the room. Daniel doesn't speak to Marcus, but in his heart, he says, I thought he was changing. Guess some people never do. Daniel walks away feeling a little cleaner, a little better about himself. But later that night, Daniel sits alone, and the same sin he judged in Marcus shows up in his own heart, just quieter, just better hidden. Same struggle, different packaging, and suddenly, Matthew 7:1 isn't a verse anymore. It's a mirror. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. Not judged by God alone, but by the same standard you used on someone else. Jesus tells a strange, almost funny story. A man with a plank in his eye trying to remove a speck from his brother's eye. Can you picture that? Someone blind to their own condition, trying to perform surgery on someone else. Jesus isn't mocking correction. He's mocking correction without humility. We're often hardest on the sins we struggle with secretly, the things that trigger us most in others are often the things we haven't surrendered in ourselves. Judgment is usually pain trying to feel powerful. Now imagine this. Marcus expects people to avoid him. He expects shame. He expects whispers. But one person walks up to him, not with a sermon, not with a lecture, just a hand on his shoulder, and the words, I'm glad you're here. Don't give up. No denial of the wrong. No pretending sin doesn't matter. Just grace that says, you are not your worst moment. That's what Jesus does with us. Karma. At the cross, he saw everything about us, every failure, every relapse, every hidden thought, and still chose mercy. The only one qualified to judge chose to forgive. Let the room get quiet here. Who have we already judged? The family member who should know better, the friend who keeps messing up, the person whose sin is more visible than ours, the stranger we labeled in our minds. Jesus isn't asking us to call wrong right. He's asking us to stop acting like we're right. That man who walked into church wrinkled and alone. I found out later he had buried his brother that week. He didn't own a suit. He came straight from work. He just needed a place to sit and breathe. I wondered how many people saw his pain, and how many only saw his appearance. Matthew 7:1 isn't about being soft on sign. It's about being soft on people. Because one day, you'll walk into a room needing grace, and the way you treated others will shape the world you walk into. Every day, we stand in front of a quiet choice. We can be the voice that condemns, or the voice that covers with grace. We can be the eyes that search for flaws, or the eyes that see pain beneath the surface. Because the truth is, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. Jesus didn't say ignore sign. He said, don't make yourself the judge. The hands that were pierced for us could have pointed in accusation, but instead, they were stretched out in mercy. So when you walk back into your world, your home, your workplace, your church, your social feeds, carry this with you. Be slower to judge. Be quicker to love. Be generous with the grace you've received. And when you fail at this, because we all will, run back to the same mercy you're learning to give. That's how we change the tone of a room. That's how we reflect the heart of Christ, not by judging the world, but by loving people through it. Let's pause and thank God, not because we've done everything right, but because He's been patient when we were wrong. Thank Him for the grace that covered us when we judged others too quickly. Thank Him for the mercy that met us when we needed forgiveness ourselves. Karma. Thank Him for the people who showed us compassion when we didn't deserve it, for the moments He corrected us without condemning us, for the love that didn't give up on us. Karma. Gratitude changes the posture of the heart. When we thank God, we remember we are receivers of mercy, not distributors of judgment. So tonight, we say, thank you, Lord, for loving us as we are, and loving us too much to leave us that way. Teach us to carry that same grace into the lives of others. Before you judge someone this week, pause and remember how much grace you've been given. Choose mercy. Choose love. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it.